All right, back for another episode of Become War, the podcast. If you're new to this, the podcast is simply about, well, I'll tell you what it was about. It was a project I started last year when the rise of all these social media gurus on masculinity are all over the place. And it wasn't that I needed them. It was that, holy shit, I'm not being accountable for myself. And it kept coming back to a theme of I like to fight, both emotionally, physically, and I always have to have a conflict or a struggle. And that was a part of myself that I truly was not comfortable with until I sat there and fully accepted it. So I started to document in a podcast series what my struggles were. It didn't matter if it was financial, didn't matter if it was faith-based, it really didn't make a difference. And the common denominator with everything was that I was going to war with something. And no one could help me. It's an inner war. And I like to think that as men, of which, I don't have a lot of male friends. I have 3 guys I grew up with, and we've been friends since we're 14. Since the pandemic, none of us really talk anymore. I think the last time I saw them was at my mother's funeral a year and a half ago. So we lost touch. During the last administration, if you're a overtly masculine man, sometimes in your life you lose people. They're like, man, oh, you support this, and this is your views on this and toxic masculinity. So a lot of us have been alienated the last several years, especially with social media, the stay-at-home aspect of it. So in the first season, if you will, of the Become War podcast, it was all me. And then recently I decided I need some fucking male friends. I need some male companionship. So I started looking at the guys that I lean on the most or have interacted with the most. We started a group chat. It's on Telegram. Anyone is welcome to join it. It's Become War on Telegram if you find you're available. But I wanted to have roundtable discussions on issues that we face and keep them kind of like fly on the wall. So if somebody is listening or paying attention or watching or chiming in or chatting, you can express, relate, hopefully connect, and we can all go to war and solve our problems. I got a few of you guys in the chat. I want to unmute you, and I want to just have a normal, a fucking sloppily put together conversation, because this was last minute, and I said, man, I want to give this a test run today and see how this would go. I want to have a roundtable discussion, and I first want to find out, when I put this out there and I invited each of you in here, I appreciate that you took me up on the invitation for joining the Become War chat, and I appreciate the fact that you're joining me for a conversation. You may be good at podcasting, which some of you in the chat are. You may have not done it before, but I first want to have a roundtable discussion. Light, I'll start with you, my brother. Tell me what drew you to joining a men's group, if you will, for iron sharpening iron's sake. If you can hear me. We're going to work out these kinks as we go.
You can hear?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So I was saying no disrespect to the women folk, but I think that's the way you sharpen your sword. You got to sharpen your sword against other swords. So I think a men's group is necessary. It's a good way to bounce off of ideas, do what men have been doing for hundreds of years. Put a group of men together, we'll start bouncing ideas, probably be some wrestling and punching, trying to figure out what works in the real fight. So I think this, a group like this serves the same purpose and also gives men a place to talk. Like, we don't have the Sally Raphaels and all the people that did it before to kind of champion what women were going through. So, I think men's group, because of the rise of the red pill community, is becoming a thing. And I think that's a good thing.
One of the things about you, I asked you specifically in this group, and I wanted to make you an admin, is who you are. You're light burly, 52 blocks, phenomenon, NYC, combatives, man. You teach men how to fight, both sport fight and survival fighting. Your demeanor, I've known you over a decade now. Your demeanor, you're one of the kindest men I've ever met. So you don't fit, the demeanor of somebody who's got violence in the forefront of their mind all the time. You know, I mean, this kind of stuff. I don't know if it's your forte. We've never had a conversation about this, but how much of a necessity is it for you to have parallel or crossover with the combatives world? And then, you know, how does Light Burley keep himself sharp and charge his batteries when it comes to you pouring into other men and teaching other men how to reach their potential for violence and being that masculine energy?
Oh, that's a great question. And I was watching an interview on one of these guys that's a sniper. I think he had like 33 kills. And what came across to me more than anything is that he's not what I thought a sniper would be. And his soft words and soft spoken voice. And, you know, it kind of took me back to something my teacher said about violence. He said, you know, you can achieve it, but achieving it ain't the biggest thing. It's knowing how to turn it off is where you become special at. And I think that's one of my things is that I can turn off of the violence. It's not you know, I've met the guys that couldn't turn it off, and the outcomes are almost pretty much the same, just different variations, but, you know, it's always a bad outcome. So I think that's one of the greatest gifts I like about teaching. It's not just teaching men violence. It's teaching men that it's not just the violence, it's the confidence to act over everything. Like, you know, I was just telling somebody that, you know, without being scared, you can't be courageous. You know, there's no door to courageousness if you're not first scared. So, you know, accepting those facts and learning how to turn the fear into the wood, into the coal of your locomotion is one of the greatest things I like about teaching over just teaching men how to destroy other men. You know, I think in the process, you know, in the process of that, you no longer even want to destroy other men more. You just want to enlighten them.
How important is the two-part question? Is it important for men to learn how to fight? And is it something that any man can learn? One of the reasons I started this group was, I remember years ago I was dating a girl, and she's like, you know, you got to get involved with a men's group. And I'm like, I don't need a men's group, and blah, 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 blah. And then there's a bunch of guys from the church who are actually bikers that I hang out with, and there's some hard damn men, you know, prison time men, and they're the sweetest men in the world. They're the kind of guys I want to hang around with. They're genuine, they're real. And I found out that it's like, man, I need to be around these type of men because this is real. And in my daytime profession, you know, I host a show, but I'm also involved in the network marketing space, which is heavily female saturated, and it's sales. And it was just frustrating the shit out of me a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I'm so tired of dumbing down the needed aggression and assertion for a sales business in order to try to convey this to women. And I can't fucking get the point. I need men. I fight, you fight. We both teach, we both train. Give us your perspective of, can any man tap into that side of protector and violent provider if he needs to be, and should he?
I definitely believe so. You know, self-preservation, I think that's the right of every mammal and animal walking this planet. So I definitely believe there is, you know, there's a way to tap into it. And yes, it has to happen. You know, if I was president, I would make learning how to fight mandatory for every man, because I think, you know, what tears down the nation quicker, faster, or more destructive is an emotional man. I think emotional men are the most dangerous thing to our society and way of life, is because, you know, they have the power to destroy and do it without, you know, a logical mind frame. And I believe for men, fighting kind of gives you that. That is one clear way. I think, you know, they say that the warrior path is the quickest path to enlightenment. And I think for men, it serves that dual purpose more than anything, of just learning how to hurt somebody, is gaining the emotional content to know when to hurt and know when not to hurt. You know, I had a guy come and challenge me, and the whole fight, I fought him, trying not to hurt him. And then when I called my teacher and told him about it, he said, well, now you can call yourself a master. You know, he said, anybody can hurt somebody. That's not, he said, you show mercy. See, now that takes skill to be able to show mercy. So mercy is kind of based on skill. Like, how do you show real mercy for anything if you don't have the skill? Like, Jordan can show us mercy in a basketball game. You know, he can give us a 10-point lead. You know what I'm saying? Because he has the skill to show real mercy. So I think when men learn how to fight, they now have the ability to be merciful.
I'll tell firsthand, that was an experience of you when you came out to my school to do a seminar. There were many moments you could have easily showed me up, but you chose not to. That's gentleman mercy instead of like a lot of guys do, pissing on new territory. You come in and you elevated me, if anything, by showing an immediate alliance. Yeah. For those who don't know, Light Burley, you can follow him on YouTube, 52 Blocks Info. Probably some of the best skill for combatives in both sport, boxing, and fighting. I'm very much looking forward to hearing what more Light has to say. Rustin, if you're there, you're on this. Same kind of questions. You know, I put the invite out. You joined. Talk about what you were, what for? Why did you feel compelled to wind up doing this? And why are you having a conversation with us tonight? Are you there? Yeah, Rustin, we're working this kink out. I think you got to unmute yourself on there because I don't have you muted. All right, I'm allowed to speak. Rustin, all right, we'll go on to Thomas. Thomas, can you hear?
Loud and clear, Dom.
Awesome. Same damn question, man. I appreciate you navigating this first roundtable mess tonight. But yeah, why are you part of a new formed men's group?
I think it's always important to be a part of something in life in general. And as far as the men's group goes, I also think it's like I said, it's important to be a part of a group of people you can, connect better with. Because, being a part of a group in general with men is one thing, but a men's group for men is empowering because you can talk about a lot more than you would around women. And again, every man needs a male figure in their life, especially for a lot of people out there in today's world that don't have a father figure growing up, like a lot of people I've grown up with, lost their fathers or didn't have them at young ages. So I think something like this is important for everybody in general, and to have a role model, because there's a lot of people in the world that have fathers who weren't big role models for themselves, and that this could be something where they could have that role model.
How's your relationship with your father?
It's pretty good. Family stuff's been up and down the last decade or so, but it's pretty simple at this point. I do have conversation with him, but I don't really connect with my family that much on a lot of things because I'm the entrepreneur. I'm the one that looks, outside the box where they're kind of stuck in the box.
What do you do?
Well, currently, I had to take a few steps back after COVID screwed me over with everything. Lost everything, kind of getting back together. As I said to you in DM, I am pursuing a deputy sheriff for Suffolk County, New York. I have my second agility test on the 4th of June, and I'm doing security part-time, and I took 2 months off, but I'm going to school for cybersecurity online through Full Sail University.
Why is that a passion for you, law enforcement?
It's always been something that I've wanted to do because I love helping people, and I figure the best way for me to do that outside of the military is to join law enforcement.
All right, I appreciate that. I think it's making a turn for the worse in the last several years. We're seeing a lot of cops who forgot what their oath is, forgot what the Constitution is. So maybe we need more awesome men up in there. So I appreciate that. Dave, is it Wins or Wines? I don't want to mispronounce your name there.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man. It's Wines.
Dave Wines, I appreciate. Same question. What do you do? What did you join the group for? And I absolutely appreciate you being a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the invite. For me, it was just what you said, sharp iron. I've listened to your content podcasts. We DM'd a handful of times, and just really to be a group with a bunch of like-minded people, like you and like I'm nowhere near to your caliber, but always been a part of combat sports. I'm a sales professional now and I coach. But really for me was just being part of this group, to learn, to listen, and to participate, and to just become better at everything that I do.
I'm definitely going to want to have conversations and podcasts with you on the sales and coaching aspect of it. Sales, I mean, it's a masculine energy shit, and especially in my profession, network marketing, all you have is these women doing these fucking reels, dancing,
God.
and they're all dancing in groups, and hey, we're living our best life ever. That's sales. That's fucking sales. It's an embarrassment. Coaching, in the picture you have, you're coaching. Looks like youth football. How are we? I'm going back into
high school football.
It's okay.
Wrestling.
Now I'm going back into coaching wrestling, and I'm a little bit worried because I don't know if we can't. I let me put it this way. So I have my cousin's kids are wrestling, and I went to one of the meets 3-4 months ago, and I got instantly hooked back into it. I said, man, the smell of the mats, the environment, I missed this like crazy. And I watched two tournaments in a row, the amount of young boys who during compromising positions where they were losing and then ultimately lost, they would cry. And they would get off the mat, and their mothers would come up and console them. And my first
throw their headgear.
Okay, right. My first thing was, now I understand it, right? You lose weight, your body emotionally has hormone issues. I lost a match once against Hersey High School in 1992. I was so pissed off because I blew it. I justified it the way that the lights shone down from the ceiling above. The ref said my shoulders were pinned. They weren't. I was so pissed. I could not control myself. I ran into the locker room, and I was sobbing uncontrollably. But I attributed that to post-holiday season, fucked up teenage hormones, lots of weight loss, and it was a real big loss. And I was also 17. These kids are 10, 12, crying.
Yes.
Are we lost? Or am I overreacting?
I've been coaching probably since about 92. I'm going to age myself. And every year, you can see, it's just that I think it's the social media and society has changed kids and the way they're raised. I don't know if it's lost. I do see some hope for the younger generation because I think the pendulum swings. But I'll tell you what, the lack of discipline, toughness, every year you could see it. The numbers would get smaller and smaller and smaller. There are always the kids that get it. And you know who the parents are, raised the same way that probably guys in this group were, or, just kind of old school. And then it's almost the 80-20 rule. The other 80% have become weaker.
Are you able to coach the way that we were coached? And I tell the story all the time. The first time, my introduction to wrestling was St. Viator High School summer camp. And, I'm all of 80 pounds, and I go in, and I'm learning for the first time. And it's a Catholic high school. And I will never forget the searing pain of my scalp where I learned that you don't shoot a double leg takedown with your head down because the coach, I still remember his name, Coach Cruz, had my thick, then black head of hair. He ripped my head up and he screamed at me, "Pick your head up, you commie pinko fag." And I remember thinking, I know what a fag is. I know what a commie is. I had to go home and ask my mother what a pinko was, but she didn't go home and do it. He didn't go and yell at the coach, but that was classical conditioning back then. We've lost that.
Absolutely.
Can't do that shit today.
Yeah, if you did that today, you'd be arrested.
How doomed are we? How doomed are we as a society if we can't create boys and turn them into men?
Very doomed. Yeah.
I hate to say it, and I'd like to get the opinion of everybody else in the group. I don't know how we come back from this.
Yeah.
I'm a 53-year-old guy, been around, seen a lot, done a lot, and having coached and just being around teenage boys, whether it's on football fields, jiu-jitsu, or wrestling, I just don't know how you can recover from it, from everything that these kids are exposed to and their parents allow it.
Oh, I think we're definitely doomed. I
Facts.
have no confidence in like with law enforcement, the quality of candidate that's patrolling the street right now. That's what's coming out there. It's ridiculous. Rustin, Dave, I appreciate that. Rustin, can you hear? Same damn question for you, and let's have a conversation about why you're in this, and just continue with this fly on the wall type of just litmus test based roundtable tonight.
Well, I thank you for having me on, and it's been a while since you and I had a conversation. But seeing how technology has changed everything, and you talked about iron sharpening iron. I don't know if I'm worthy of this group. I think if I brought out my sword, it came from China, and it's going to get broken right off the bat. So I'm 50 years old, and I've seen a lot, just as much as anyone else is here, and I think there is a way to get out of it.
Can I interrupt you for a second? I want to interrupt you for a second. Dude, that's the fucking point of this podcast, right? I've listened to other guys out there, and I've been blessed to associate and be on, and I it's a feather in my cap. I was on Andy Frisella's podcast. I've listened to Andy Elliott. I've had DM conversations with Wes Watson after I owed him a public apology for criticizing him. I don't want the big fucking guys on. I don't want the fucking. I want those of us who are normal, who we like. For me personally, I'm not even remotely at the level of success that I want in life, physically, monetarily, but I'm not going to look to those guys as the answer. I want to look for other men who are struggling everywhere else in fucking life. Who, yeah, our swords are from fucking China, but we're still going to use them in the war. I don't give a shit.
Right.
So you absolutely you belong here, and that's the point of this group is. We're fighting the battle. Some of those other guys, I don't know what their level of fighting is, but they're not on the same level as we are.
Well, and that makes all the sense. I've literally tried my best to surround myself with people that are positive and being successful, even when I am not. And I've also learned that being negative all of the time doesn't always work either. And you're right. We do need to hold each other accountable. We don't do that much anymore. We've withdrawn ourselves in ourselves. And some of us are extroverts. We had to learn to be more introverted behavior-wise because of that. So here we are again after the pandemic. Everybody was forced to be introverted. So we've got some interesting conversations to have, Tom.
I very much believe so. What do you do if you don't mind my asking?
Retired from search engine results after 2020 election. Google really showed their hand, and I saw the writing on the wall. So now I'm driving truck for a living. Matter of fact, I'm coming home.
Are you happier?
Am I happier? In a way, I am. Financially happier? No, I'm not.
So here's I was going to go there next. Go ahead.
Yeah. So and it's a mess. Everything is a mess.
One of the big things, and Dr. Michael, come on next, we'll talk about that. But one of the big things is there is this big push for big guys lately, like Wes Watson, Andy Elliott, Andy Frisella, and they're touting in a good way the need for financial success. Somewhere in the last 20 years, oh, it's okay. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be this. You don't need to be that. Especially if you were Catholic or Christian, like my path was, you were taught to be afraid of financial success because that's wrong and that's evil. And that's a big part of why I started this podcast was if you don't have fucking money as a man, how can you take care of anyone? So you may be physically happier driving a truck, but do you feel the burden or the desire to improve financially? And is that ever something that, I don't know, it keeps me up at night. It's a torture. It's a war for me. Is it the same for you?
Well, yeah, especially when you have a family too. I mean, I came from a little bit of success when I was developing software and manipulating Google search results. I was buying property near everything that Google and Facebook and the like own. And because what changed and happened, I had $7 million debt that I had to erase away in less than a year. So yeah, I always feel like I was, looking at the wife and family, and I was like, all right, so what do we go from here? And yeah, this, what's particularly what we're going through right now, unfortunately, is not really unique to me. It's unique to a lot of people, and it all throughout everything. It doesn't matter if you're in music, doesn't matter if you're in any of the industries that we have now. Everything is a mess right now, and we could attribute to technology and social media and the toxic relationships that we're trying to get ourselves away from, but we continue to be part of the toxic problem that social media has created simply by the people that understand software and coding. They also have a degree in psychology. So we're being manipulated all kinds of ways.
We're fucked. It's ridiculous. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So hey, don't forget the group too as well. I want this for networking. I brought on guys like Light, Dr. Mike, and all these other guys in the chat because they're guys who've inspired me, and I selfishly believe I have an agenda with everything. If I can promote other men who to be far more successful than I am, it's kind of like the slingshot, right? I'm gonna make you the king, sling you ahead, and hopefully in the process they're gonna go, this is Dominic, this is what he's good at, and they're gonna let me ride their coattails. So yeah, network the shit out of stuff. That's the point of this group. Dr. Mike, Dr. Jonathan,
yes,
Mike, Jack, and you with some Karens, man? You got some Karens listening around you?
No, not anymore. I got a headset now. I was staying outside with a bunch of Karens and kids.
Son of a bitch. Dr. Mike is jacked and tan. He's one of my favorite people. We instantly became friends. We did a podcast for the Become War a year ago, as did Ray, and Ray jumped into the group. I'm glad for that. When I asked you to be a part of this, this was for me, all right, and I posed this in a way. So I need to have these successful masculine leadership men in a group where I can have discussions with them like this, and I can also sit there and use you. I'm using you purposefully because I need that fight where, fuck you, I'm not going to let Dr. Mike be more successful than me. Your numbers aren't going to be bigger than me. I got to outdo you. I got to do it. So that's what it's a big part of this. Why do you need to? Do you need? Well, there's a lot you can contribute. But when I asked you to be part of this group, why'd you bless us with this?
Well, thanks for having me on as usual. Honestly, I look at the state of men in this country, and it, as the last couple of years have gone on, it's just absolutely fucking disgusting to me. I mean, you have these men that are walking around like they have these, Cheeto dust, gluttonous titty bellies, and it's just you need to step up and speak up and stand up for society. Because of the propagation and of the fake news and media and trying to downplay men and their roles of being projectors and providers, people have gotten soft in this country. And I don't know how we actually start turning the course and turning the wheel around to, make men be what they're supposed to actually be. If you go back, 50, even 30 years ago, it wasn't like this. Even in the 50s or 60s, it wasn't like this at all because of, politics and, men just want to be lazy and they want to be fat. And the only jack people that I see anymore is at the gym. So, but yeah, it's good to be a part, obviously, of something. And, it's healthy competition too. When you see another jack guy, you give the nod, you give the fist bump, and all this other stuff. There's a mutual respect there for sure.
Yeah, I want to come back to that. That's the conversation we're going to go. I want to go to Ray real quick. Ray Gardner from Graybeard Actual. I'm glad you could join us. I appreciate that. Same thing. Somebody I massively value. His content on social media is fantastic. Hits a lot of good nerves in the head. I'm glad you chose to be a part of this group. Why did you bless us when I said, hey, Ray, I want you part of this group. I want you as an admin. You're doing very well as well. But what was your intention for joining it?
First off, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I've never actually used Telegram.
Yeah, you sound good. Well, we're working out the bugs on this. This is a makeshift roundtable discussion. Part 1 today. We're going to be tightening the reins on this as we go, and we'll be having some conversations. Oh, and we got Cliff Yates coming in too next. But yeah, Ray, have at it.
Well, yeah, I just looked down and saw that you invited me over, and obviously I like your content. I like how you push back on things, and you had done something. This is probably a couple of months ago now. Something came up. I don't remember what it was, and I don't know if you actually lost followers or somebody was threatening, "Oh, you're going to lose followers," and you're like, "Fuck that," I don't care.
Yeah.
And I thought,
all the time.
I like Dominic. That's good because I've had people recently, not a whole lot, but they don't like what I'm saying. But the point is, what you guys are getting at is where we're at now in the world. Everything's going on. The last thing in the world we need is somebody that's going to change or fold or be manipulated. We're going to do what we're going to do. I have a message. You don't like it, move on.
No, it's fantastic.
But other than that, I showed up because you invited me. I want to see what's going on. And I've never actually used the app.
Good. We're going to have a conversation in a minute. Again, I wanted to go around the table really quickly, take the first part of this kind of introducing. Cliff Yates, man, I got to have you chime in really quickly. Law enforcement professional, host of the Cliff Yates Show. Fitter than fucking I am. Well, most of you guys are.
I don't know about that, brother, but
no,
thanks for having me. I'm glad to be part of this warrior group, my friend.
It's fantastic. Talk about do we need a men's group? Do you see value in men having groups in today and the iron sharpening iron, or is that just some bullshit we all feed each other?
No, we need that today because of what's going on. The demasculinization of just not only men, but it's trying to destroy women. So men need to stand up in defense of women and basic gender that we know is right, man and woman. So we need to stand up. We were all brought up, a lot of us in a generation where we were polite. We let government take care of things, and we step back. Now we can't do that anymore. We can't sit back now. We do have to get involved, whether it's just being part of a podcast or, spreading the word.
Well, it's a good thing then. The Cliff Yates Show is doing well. I like seeing that, so I'm glad you joined us. All right, I kind of want to start the discussion, free for all. You guys got something to say, just fucking unmute yourselves and have a conversation. I sent this to Dr. Mike, and weeks and weeks and weeks ago when I first started seeing Andy Elliott's content, I was like, shit, what's this crap? And then I started going, no, this guy's fucking right, because he does sales and he has you take your shirt off and this and that kind of stuff. And then the other day, I listened to Wes Watson, who, again, when I first started listening to Wes Watson stuff, I'm like, this guy's a fucking loudmouth. But then I'm like, well, so are you. So shut the fuck up and listen to him. And then I started really liking his message because his message is about personal excellence. I want to play a little bit of a confrontation that Wes Watson had with another influencer who's been on the Whatever podcast. And they were on this panel. I want to play this. Number one, I want to see if this comes through. Let me test this first here.
Earlier, I need to know what the fuck you said in English.
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm going to play this audio, and then I want to have a discussion about the reality of what he said.
So my definition of success will probably be far different than everybody else's on the panel. I'll probably maybe be the lone dissenter, but my definition of success is having a family, having children, and being part of the apparatus of the world. And true wealth is a rejection of materialism. As Christ said himself, what good does it benefit a man to gain the entire world at the cost of his soul? And essentially, when I think of wealth, I think of materialism. It's okay to have materialism. It's not against Christian ethics to become rich, become wealthy, but I just think it's all beside the point, ultimately. You're trying to go for a single thing, and it's to achieve something greater than
money?
The person.
Does he have money?
No.
Do you have money?
No, I don't have.
How much money do you have?
I don't have money. But here's the thing. Why is money valuable?
Do you have money?
What is money valuable for?
I'm just asking. Do you have money?
I just said no. I'm broke. I'm a nobody.
No, but really, you are?
Yeah.
Is he really broke?
Yeah.
I just want to know. I have to know.
No, I'm not. I'm not one of these rich guys. I don't have a Bugatti. I don't have a Lambo.
I just really have to know. Like, how much money you got?
Probably $5 in my pocket. Not much more.
Can anyone answer for the guy?
Why do they think I'm kidding? I have a family. I take care of an entire family. That takes a lot of money.
He's doing all right.
Okay,
It's okay.
This is the thing, you guys. If you ain't fit, you can't say it's not all about being in good shape.
Why not?
If you don't have money, you can't say it's not all about money.
Yeah, why
But
not?
if he does have money, he can say that.
Why not? Why can't you say? Why must you have the thing before you? Hang on. Let me ask the question.
Because hypothetical is hypocritical.
Let me ask the question.
Hypothetical is hypocritical.
How do you even know what I was going to say before I've even been allowed to ask the question?
I know what you're going to say.
Then what was I going to say?
You're going to say, why can't you ask the question?
Okay, so that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is, how in the world can you create a standard that it's inappropriate to ask somebody, how come if I don't have X thing, because I don't value X thing, does that mean X thing is actually valuable?
You've never experienced it, so you can't speak about it.
You think that I haven't experienced wealth? Even poor people.
I was asking if you did.
Even poor people experience days of wealth.
I was asking if you did. I don't know who you are.
But even poor people experience days of wealth. And so the thing is
no, definitely not. Definitely not.
Definitely so. Not. Definitely so.
I've lived the lowest lows and the highest highs.
Well, what's the distinction? After you make X amount, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you look at these studies done on this, it does not.
I don't fit no fucking studies.
It does not hugely improve a person's life.
Are you proud of who the fuck you are?
Why
look at, are you proud? If you look in the mirror, would you guys say this motherfucker's proud of who the fuck he is? That's a bag of trash, dude. Pull your fucking shirt up. Tell me you're fucking proud of yourself.
Because I've been to fucking prison?
Jesus Christ,
because
look
I've been
at
to
you,
prison?
bro. You got 10-inch arms and tits. Men don't have tits.
No, they go to prison where they get fucking.
Fuck yeah,
they get raped up the ass.
You've never been to prison. Look,
that's what happens.
Shit you don't know.
They go to prison.
The rest of the conversation is pretty damn hysterical. But when I first saw that, I was laughing my ass off.
It's just hilarious.
Well, there's a couple different.
That clip is hilarious.
There's a couple, and I'll put it in the chat too for anyone who wants to see the rest of it. For when I first started watching it, I thought this was okay. Wes is getting confrontational, and that took me into the spot of. I always grew up where it was, the loudest guy in the room is the most insecure one. And that was bullshit because I'm sure shit not fucking insecure even though I'm loud. And then the second thing is the guy talks about, well, the monetary wealth isn't what Christ represented. That was something my entire fucking life. Don't ever wish or hope to be wealthy. Are we doomed as men by stifling this need to be loud and proclaim who we are, make that statement, and if Dr. Mike, who's 6'5" and I'm 5'7", and we're getting in the room and we're both barking at each other, I'm not fucking gonna be yelling at Mike or Dr. Mike because I'm insecure. It's just what I'm doing. Or is it I'm really doing that because I'm posturing. And then the wealth aspect of it. As men, should we just get rid of all monetary wealth and live like a monk under a viaduct on I-90 in fucking Chicago and poor because that's the real status of a man? Are we fucking ourselves by not wanting to be fit, not wanting to be wealthy, and do we need men to call us out and say, dude, you're a fat piece of shit? I'm opening the floor to anybody who wants to chime in.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. First of all, that clip, I've watched that whole clip twice, and it cracked me up. It cracked me up both times. The shit was hysterical. Like looking back, if you just look at the comment section, and I like Wes. I've never met him personally. I like some of his content, but the reality is that Wes is right. Like, why would I listen to if I want to become very wealthy? Why would I listen to somebody who's not wealthy? If I want to become like really fit, why would I listen to somebody who's not fit? And if I want to get jacked and tan and strong, why would I, listen to somebody who does just body workouts or who does like Pilates or some shit? So Wes was right. I mean, maybe his approach was wrong. Like, who cares? Wes is Wes. But the reality is that people need to put fitness first, faith, family, finances, whatever it is, and get to a higher state level of personal and professional development. This country is lost, and men lost that as well. And and a lot of it is propagated by beliefs or self-limiting beliefs or what your family told you, or just people in general. And it's like it's your job to like break out of the shell and become a higher version of yourself.
Let me ask you a question. Was Wes's approach really wrong? Because going back to what Dave and I were talking about with coaching, is it wrong for Wes to go? Because Wes was very polite in the beginning. Do you have money? What's your position? Then the guy kept going at it. Then he called it out. His statement was, If you're in the gym, it's about fitness, building, and muscle. If you're at work, it's about making money. If you're about your family, it's about making your family time. Every compartmentalized section of a man's life should be at the top of his game. Because if I'm rich and I'm built like a piece of shit, whatever, I think there's a point. Is there a point where men are just like, shut the fuck up? I am gonna roar at you, because everyone likes to use the lion shit, right? But we're supposed to be stoic. No, is there a time when stoicism is safe for the people who are too cowardice to fucking just let it all out?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I agree with that as well. I think it's like, because you mentioned this, because Dom, I actually listened to your podcast about this on this very topic, and you talked about like, yes, it's okay to be like nice and kind, but now people take that as like, if you're too nice, if you're too kind, then people mistake your kindness for weakness, and they want to take advantage of you and try to run you the fuck over. But then you can be nice and kind, but when it comes time to step it up and speak up for what's really right, I want that approach. I like that better, and I want that. If somebody tells me that I'm fat, I'd rather have them tell me the truth. I'd rather have them be bold with the lies, or be bold with the truth versus eloquent with the lies.
Right.
Absolutely. You know, I liken it to how dogs correct another dog.
Yes. Run with that.
You know, it puts the other dog in its place and typically falls in line and understands its position in the pack. And I think for men, it's become lost where that there isn't accountability, or people are afraid to hold other people accountable. And like the other gentleman was speaking, I don't know who that was. I apologize. I couldn't see. I want to be told if I'm fat or I'm getting out of shape. And absolutely hold me accountable, make me a better person. I want to be a better person, and to surround myself with better people to reach that higher level, to have a standard.
Yeah, I like that you talk about the dogs correcting each other. They do. They will nip at each other, or they'll growl and grab each other's throat. But that's their level of communication, where one goes, "Oh shit, I fucked up," and then they know their pecking order in the pack. 100%.
Absolutely.
Gents, the floor's open. Anybody got any comments? Jump in.
This is Ray here. I don't know enough about either one of those guys to have a strong opinion. So all I can say is they're both, from what I can tell, too extreme. Money's not everything. Definitely having a wife and family is not everything. All these things, right? So, but I appreciate whoever the prison guy was, to take an extreme. It's better to take an extreme position on success and fitness and making the most of yourself. That, with this other guy, Wilson or whatever his name is, I know him and Rolo are friends, so he can't be all that bad. But for what he's saying, it sounds more like a Matt Walsh kind of thing.
In a stoicism type of concept, and it's very funny how Jerry Seinfeld was just recently interviewed, and he brought up Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, which I was reading when I was in my 20s, and that was the path of a man. But the older I get now, I'm like, no, sometimes you got to grab a fucker by the throat. And we have let people get away with shit because they do not suffer or fear suffering consequences. Is there a place or a point, Ray, for men to do the barking like a dog? Or is that a sign of, well, you lost the argument, so you broke out with the personal attacks and you couldn't do that, and blah, blah. Or do men need to just snap every now and then to remind other men, we're not fucking around with this because there's going to be consequences?
That, you know what, another analogy, it's like the lion and the hyena. Sometimes, you know what, the lion's got to put the hyena in their fucking place.
Yeah.
And I think the way to do that, however, is, it's about delivery and how you go about it, and certainly being able to back it up.
All right.
So I think there's a time and place for it. I do also believe, and because I've experienced it in my life, the one that gets loud right away, starts name calling and all the bullshit, they're usually the weakest link. However, you tell when someone who isn't the weakest link, who does get to that point, does the correction, and so, oh shit, I'm going to sit down and listen to this guy.
Light, I think you're great for this conversation because your background, where you come from, the men you associate with, you know, you are a very hard man, and and you work with hard men. You've been challenged by hard men. You back hard men down. Where is the all bark, no bite, or is there a need for it? Just in a general method of this conversation, what's your 360 view of this?
Well, I think, I heard it before, the good die young, the dangerous die old. I think bite is very necessary. And, I think, and that's why, I link it all back into training, because it's the one thing for men that can help you train the bite. And, because not every fight has to be a kill. Like I hear so many people, and it's like, in the street fight life, like you're fighting for your life. And this is true. This is true. But, if the fight is really that hard, it's probably because you didn't train for it. So I think the men being able to bark, like the reason I know 52 blocks is because the men before me, when I was younger, they invested in if you knew how to fight. Like they literally almost made you fight. Like you really didn't have a choice. Like back in the heyday, it was almost believed if a man was gay, it could be beat out of him. That's what type of men that were, that instructed me. And I think that that lineage is gone, because of the internet. You don't really have men talking to young, especially the younger men now. Like that whole thing is almost non-existent. And I think that is one of the, the biggest problems is that the further we move away from the natural way, the more problems we're going to have as a society. And I think that's what we're seeing is that, we're moving further and further away from the natural way.
So did that become, there's a good question with the natural way then. It used to be when we were younger that it got to be in the 80s and the 90s that if you were the guy that came up and you had the loud mouth, that meant that you were posturing and you couldn't fight and all you're doing is peacocking your feathers to get but now do we need a meld of the two, a blend of the two to say, hey, listen, no, I can fuck you up, but I'm also going to give you the warning by being loud and I'm going to do the barking. Is that something that, like this Wes Watson, I'm not going to discredit him. I don't know anything about him. I don't fear him. But at the same time, too, I'm not going to try him, based on his background. So do we need that? Do we need that type of men to come back and flex their dominance in a more vocal way?
Yes, I believe so. And I believe the flex of the dominance comes from the training. Like, if you can walk it, you can talk it. So if you training, I don't, I'm a very humble person, but people that do, go to the other side against me, see, the humbleness is just that's just the presentation of respect that I have for all sentient beings. But outside of that, I'm going to crush my enemy. There will be nothing left of you. Like, I'm going to attack you from all sides. And I like I said, you have to have that thing. And so, yes, I believe posturing is good because posturing sometimes saves the person that's not too intelligent from himself. The posturing was just enough to make him understand that, this may not be the route to go, but the posturing should also be backed by, activity and the willingness to, to do if need be. And, those type of men have definitely been like pretty much just eliminated or, made to be the, made to be the dinosaurs headed towards extinction. Like those type of men are like dinosaurs now. So Yeah,
Trust me,
I think both is needed, the posture and the fight.
I think a lot gets lost in translation, though. Me personally, this is Ray again, in case you can't see who's talking, but me personally, I was a loudmouth, cocky guy when I was younger, got in the Marine Corps, and, iron sharpens iron and all that. What I learned over time, I've never been a stoic philosopher per se, but in the Marine Corps, we called it showing your ass.
Mm.
And there's a time, obviously in the Marine Corps, there's a time we're going to get loud and we're going to get in each other's faces. But at the same time, you don't start there. And a guy that would go there too quickly, that displays a lack of emotional control. So, and I'm not trying to walk the fence here, but there is a place for balance. So that, the stoic approach is, you're not going to get under my skin. If we get in an argument, that's why I didn't like either one of their presentation. I didn't completely agree with what either one said, in the details necessarily. But to the point, if I get personal, I mean, we're real deep into it before I get personal, but more to the point of what the gentleman was just saying. I know how to fight, spent a lot of time as a bouncer, spent a lot of time boxing. And if you know that and you walk with that confidence, right? 9 times out of 10, you don't have to get loud. You don't have to make a big display. People know it. I went to some local MMA fights here a couple weekends ago, and I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, athletic, muscular. When I would walk around there at those fights, this probably maybe 15, 20% of the crowd were guys like me, guys that you could tell they've been training before, because it's the local fights, right? It's going to pull that kind of a crowd. And we all had total respect for each other. I think somebody mentioned something about this a few minutes ago. When we walk around, there's kind of a nod, like, hey, we know each other. Not really, but we would give each other a nod. Like, yeah, you're one of us that knows how to do this, right? And I've not had to really step up and get really loud on anybody in a long time, precisely because people look at me and if there's a problem, they get the fuck out of the way. You know what I mean? And to the point, it's not that there's not a time to step up and be loud and to let people know, if you say something else or you do something else, something's going to go down. It's in terms of measure and balance.
Yes.
And for somebody to fly off too quickly, and maybe he was kind of charged up and amped up, this prison guy. Maybe he was amped up because, he's in front of a crowd, and I get it, your adrenaline's up. But, money's not everything, and definitely your wife is not everything, as far as a goal or purpose goes. So the details of both, I think, are a little extreme. And then the reactions, and he's right, don't stand up in front of a bunch of men and tell them how to be men if you've got man boobs, right? I mean, you got to show me something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna comment on Light's shit in case anybody wonders. I'll tell you from firsthand experience, Light's left hook will turn your liver into pate in your fucking system. Just in case anybody wonders.
Man, thank you.
No, fucking thank you.
No, thank you.
Cliff, law enforcement concept. A lot of my content when I talk about law enforcement is maintaining professionalism. Don't do that barking shit. But so we walked a very fine line, right? We were on the fence where, we weren't allowed to say, shut the fuck up, motherfucker. It's how that we had to maintain professionalism. But as men who aren't in the field or no longer on the field, where's the barking? Where's the stoicism? Where's the financial? Where's the responsibility of being a man who can fucking kill, who could tell others he can kill, and who could back it up and then provide?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know the context of this fight thing, but I'm wondering, hey, I really don't want to fight right now. I'm 67 almost. I don't really want to fight. But, where are the people that, back in my day, if you talk shit, you get your ass kicked. Where are these men who have daughters and these men are swinging their dicks in the locker room and no one's kicking their ass? Where are these fucking juiced up bodybuilders in Planet Fitness when this asshole's in with a 12-year-old girl and they're not thrown through the front window? What happened to those days? I don't get it.
That's the $1 million question, Cliff. I don't fucking know at all. I don't go to Planet Fitness anyway, so that's ridiculous. Oh, but there is.
You know what I'm saying, though? I'm saying,
yes,
what the fuck in my day, if I talk side-eye to a guy, I might get my ass kicked. These these fuckers walk around doing shit like this with impunity. I don't get it.
Because we don't have that. We don't have that where somebody walks up and says, knock it the fuck off or I'm going to kick your teeth in. Oh my God, he's going to jail. And then, then all of a sudden we just downplay ourselves for shit. But again, if you're being challenged by another man, I think there's a time and place to where, how often do you jockey the position going back and forth with wits and slights and, funny jabs and throwing shade before you just go, look, motherfucker, I'm going to kick your ass right here on the stage. Oh, you lost the argument. No, I didn't, because I'm about to. That's the problem I have. Rustin or Thomas, if you guys got anything to add, please do.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have lost mutual combat, where it was shit gets done and taken care of. You find out who's wrong and who's right. Even after you lost your fight, you were right. You were still right, but you stood up for yourself.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. I served in the Marines from 94 to 98 as well, so Semper Fi, brother. And I've also been on the other side of the law. I've been in prison for 3 years, and I know in prison, if you get called out, you better freaking stand up and make it happen.
We lost that chat for a second. I'm going to go back in there. So this is the Become War podcast. And we are, this is phenomenal. This is the first time doing this. And I'm going to see if this comes back up here. Yeah, this was a makeshift last minute decision to do a podcast. Hope you're enjoying it. Kind of lost you guys for a second. I'm not sure if that's a timed out thing or whatnot. But I know that Rustin was talking if he comes back in. Thomas, did you have anything to add to that at all?
Yeah, I'll kind of try to jump on what Rustin was saying. For people that don't know, I was in the Navy too, like about 2.5 years. And my time in the military too is probably a lot different than Rustin's time. But I see a lot of the whole dumbing down of society and the, men becoming less manly. Even in my military service, because when I was in the Navy, even in basic training, the training that we went through for basic was a cakewalk. I felt it was way too easy. It was way too lenient, and we almost did nothing. Training for my job was even worse, where we got barely any training for the job I was going for when I went in. And, when you get into your command on your ship, you're kind of like, at a loss for words, like, hey, what the hell do I do now? Because you're fishing for ideas, trying to figure things out. But half the guys don't know what they're doing, and half the guys don't want to help you that do know what they're doing.
Yeah. Rustin, sorry, we the call dumped for a second, so yeah, please finish up your thought.
Shoot, I got to remember what I said.
You were talking about when you were in prison that you get called out, you better step up.
That's it. Yeah, I've had that happen a couple of times, and it's an interesting story in itself. And then I think the ability to be, sometimes mutual combat really is somewhat therapeutic. I've also learned as I've gotten older that you tend to fight dirtier. You want to get shit done a little bit quicker. You don't want to fuck around anymore. But I also mercy, even though I'm addicted to being angry and fighting and all that great stuff, but I never really tried to really wreck a person and hurt a person.
No,
I always made my point.
Horrible to do. It feels like shit. Guys, I appreciate this. This was the first of many roundtable discussions. I just threw this together last minute tonight. I wanted to give this a test run to see how this went.
Good job, brother. Good job.
No, I appreciate that. Thanks to Cliff Yates for being on the Cliff Yates Show. You can find it on YouTube and podcast formats. Light Burley, 52 blocks. Just Google Light Burley and 52 blocks. You will not be disappointed. Dr. Jonathan Mike, fitness trainer online. Ray Garner of the Graybeard Actual, and everybody else who jumped on. If I missed, I apologize. But we're going to be doing these, and this is what it's all about. And I appreciate you guys. This is another episode of Become War. Guys, the chat room is open. You can find Become War chat room over on Telegram to join us, and we'll see you guys on the next episode here on Spreely.tv.